factors. Every day we'll be joined by specialist guests to discuss topics ranging from fraud prevention when shopping online to making secure payments in person. That's this Monday and all next week, thanks to Visa. To find out more, head to lbc.co.uk.
My name's Simone and I'm a dentist. First thing in the morning, I like to go out into the back garden and yodel. It's such an energizer. Even the neighbours join in.
Okay, you don't have to trust your dentist on everything, but when it comes to your toothpaste, you should. Oral-B Pro Expert toothpaste is the #1 most used by dentists in the UK. So switch to Oral-B today for a dentist clean feeling at home. Oral-B, brush like a pro.
Business right now.
Sound feed for the mic. So we'll test it out.
Tools to sell on social media. You can take contactless payments in person and send invoices online. Wherever you sell, you'll get your money the next business day with no long-term commitments, so you're ready for whatever's next. See everything we can do at square.com/UK. Square Up Europe Limited is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Thanks to new government guidance and the hard work put in by everyone in our team, we're able to safely reopen TDC dental implant centres and get back to what we do best, restoring confidence and beautiful smiles. So, if you've been suffering with loose or painful teeth or have trouble with dentures, take the first step and find out how you can benefit from our award-winning Smile in a Day dental implant treatment. Book your no-obligation consultation at smileinaday.co.uk.
Welcome back to More Space this autumn with Southeastern. As more passengers come back to travelling by train, our teams are here so you can feel welcome. We've boosted our services up to 98% of our pre-COVID timetable and reworked it to give you more space, with over 900 extra carriages each weekday. Alongside frequent antiviral cleaning of our stations and trains, there's hand sanitizer at our busiest stations, helping you travel with confidence wherever you need to go. Visit southeasternrailway.co.uk/travel with confidence.
Andrew Castle on LBC.
It's 21 minutes past 7. We'll talk about the vaccine at 8 o'clock this morning in a little bit more detail. There is more than some question. There's major questions about how we're going to get it into people's arms. And, and sure enough, people are demonstrating, a lot of people, we talked about it last week, don't like to take vaccinations at all. I certainly am not one of them. But I've just heard from a very eminent scientist from Imperial that no, we have never had an effective vaccine for a coronavirus. So what's to make us...
Seems to be detecting better stats.
Right. That it was really, really clear. Put the fear of God into everybody, didn't it? And now, changing those behaviours, changing those feelings, as people are terrified, it's going to be very, very difficult. Give me a call, 0345 606 0973. Tell me how you, in your life, are going to deal with living with COVID-19. George is in Grantham in Lancashire. Lovely part of the world. Hello, George.
Morning, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Right.
I did actually try to get through to yesterday, but I think actually on reflection, probably the topics of this morning, although we're still all talking about COVID, much more fitting to the points I was going to hopefully try and make.
Well, get stuck in, George, whatever you want.
I'll try, and I'll start, if I may, firstly with a caveat to say that anything I do say is in no way intended to trivialise the very sad and upsetting loss of life as a result of COVID. I'm in no way a COVID denier, and I completely understand that it's causing huge upset and pain to a lot of people.
Yes.
But I just don't think that these varying degrees of lockdown, which are being experimented all across the world, are in any way yielding the results, or at least sustainable results, to combat this virus.
Why do you suppose that is?
Well, I mean, well, if you look at, I'm not particularly well sorted up on numbers, but I thought, bearing in mind I listen to you guys a lot, and I think you're probably more fair and reasonable than a lot of other presenters, but sometimes people say, well, give me some numbers then. So if you look at sort of 90% of the deaths have been in people with serious underlying health conditions, of which, and again, not wishing to trivialise that or belittle that, but as in once those sadly those people have passed, if the percentage of the people catching the virus are therefore not falling into that category of underlying health conditions, then perhaps the recovery rates may be better. I mean, there are all sorts, as you'll know, Andrew, there are all sorts of things, and a couple of your previous contributors who are far more learned and know a lot more about that through their profession than I do. But they're saying that there might not be a vaccine, and in the event that the world
9% oldie. Oh crap!
How we're going to target it.
Distracted.
The irony is that if there was an ability to shut ourselves in a box, a completely sealed box, and somehow manage to survive, we could then get into our cars and drive to a doctor's practice or a vaccine clinic to be inoculated and die on the road.
The question, George, is, for me, what is a proportionate response to this second bump, second wave, whatever you want to call it, utterly predictable as we came out of lockdown? What is a proportionate response? And I think the answer to that is that we all have to assess our own risk at the same time as protecting the vulnerable. I just don't think there's another way.
It's exactly like that. I mean, that's daily life, isn't it, Andrew? I mean, we all take risks on an everyday basis. Some people are inherently more risk averse than others, and we all have our own reasons and justifications for that. But I mean, unless we're going to, I'm trying to think of an example or an analogy in any other part of life where you mentioned civil liberties earlier, but where such civil liberties are taken away from us, and we don't have a civil liberty to necessarily break speed limits on the road, but then there are speed limiters, or at least not ones that restrict us to the actual speed limits on cars. There are quotas on the amount of cigarettes you can buy, well there are, but as in...
I take the point. We make decisions about our own safety and our own health and all aspects of our life at all times, apart from now, and it's being taken away, and I'm wondering whether it's the right approach. George, I must leave you. Thank you very much indeed for your call, and all the best. 7:20. Take care. 7:26 is the time. Sunday Mirror, £10,000 fine if you refuse to self-isolate. Sunday People, save us from another care home catastrophe. Plea to Prime Minister over fear of second wave deaths. Sunday Express also going with this new £10,000 fine if you won't self-isolate.
Try to do better.
Same thing with the Mail on Sunday, £10 fine for leaving house is the way they dramatically put it. Observer going with the same line. And the Sunday Times, in fact, it's a full house. Sunday Times, £10,000 fine for people who fail to self-isolate. Also on the front page of the Observer and one or two other newspapers as well. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, 1933 to 2020, a very striking picture in front. Death of revered judge prompts U.S. turmoil. Why U.S. turmoil? We turn to an expert, Charles Feld, co-host of KNX in Depth and KNX News Radio in Los Angeles. Hello, Charles.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Now, Mr. Trump has decided that he is going to try and name a Supreme Court justice, and it's going to be a woman, as I understand it. Is that right?
That is the way I understand it, too. And let me talk about that for a minute. You know how in the UK, you guys have some words that you spell slightly differently than we spell it here. You, for example, put the letter U when you spell color. Apparently, in this country, we spell politician, H-Y-P-O-C-R-I-T-E, because the hypocrisy is just astonishing. You may recall that in the waning days of the Obama administration, the Republicans in this country said they would not grant Mr. Obama's choice for replacement on the Supreme Court, on the Supreme Court, because the American public had the right to have the newly elected president, of course that was Donald Trump, select his choice for a nominee. So they didn't grant that, and we went without that position filled for several months. Now, those very same politicians on the Republican side of the aisle are saying, lo and behold, we can't go months now with a vacancy on the Supreme Court. It is with great urgency, they're saying, we need to put somebody, Mr. Trump's choice, on the court ASAP. And so they are saying that Mr. Trump will name somebody probably within the next 5 to 10 days. The Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, who is a Republican, is saying that there will be a speedy vote in the Senate, and they're hoping to get a replacement right after election.
Yeah, Barack Obama's nominee was Merrick Garland, wasn't it, back in those days? And McConnell may well be guilty of this hypocrisy, but I think an absolute gift for Donald Trump, something else to argue about and to polarise people about. But just before I let you go, Charles, talk to me about Donald Trump's view of TikTok now. I don't know whether you use TikTok. I doubt it.
You doubt correctly. No, I don't, but I know a lot of people who do.
Left side,
and there's a deal that was reached, as you probably know. So Oracle is going to supply the cloud sourcing services for TikTok. Walmart is going to play a role in this too. Together, they are now going to own about 20% of the company. 70%, by the way, of TikTok will still be controlled by the very Chinese company that Mr. Trump objected to begin with. So I'm not quite sure what they accomplished, other than allegedly the security is going to be heightened because the servers will now belong to Oracle, even though when it was just TikTok and was all owned by a Chinese company, most of the data for users in the United States anyway, that data was kept on U.S. servers to begin with.
PC,
so I'm not quite
laptop.
sure what accomplished.
God bless America, Charles. And
laptop.
Take care of yourself. That's Charles.
Reform at 17%.
You can find him at KNX In Depth on KNX News Radio in Los Angeles. 7:31 is the time. Question for you: how many people are awaiting?
Haven't checked the RAM yet.
UK asylum, or to even be assessed in this country? How many people are waiting to be told whether or not they can stay or they have to
already
go?
have the key.
I'll tell you after this. Thomas Watts with the news.
Fines of up to £10,000 could soon be issued to people in England who fail to self-isolate. The new legal duty will apply to people who test positive for COVID-19 or are told to quarantine by NHS test and trace. Sir Keir Starmer has called on the government to entrust coronavirus testing to local authorities. The Labour leader has been speaking at the start of a 4-day online event in place of the party's annual conference. President Trump says he's given his blessing to a proposed deal between Oracle and Walmart for the US operations of TikTok. His administration had ordered the Chinese-owned app to be banned over national security concerns. Most areas fine, warm and dry with plenty of sunshine, cloudy across the far north of Scotland and northeast England, a high of 25 Celsius.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, LBC.
Health Secretary Matt Hancock, you wanted to save the NHS, and you did. You wanted the great British public to get the message, and they did. You built a network of Nightingale hospitals in record time. Why is test and trace such a bloody shambles?
Contact tracing, if somebody phones you up from NHS Test and Trace and says that you need to self-isolate, then you really must.
What commended Baroness Harding for the job in the first place?
Baroness Harding's done an extraordinary job of
that's certainly one word.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, weekday mornings from 7, LBC. Here's the thing about block management. If you do it yourself, you're over here sorting out the insurance, and here keeping everything compliant. Don't forget the grounds maintenance and the service charges. And that's just what you need to do today. But because the ABC Estates block management team can look after every aspect of your property portfolio, from repairs to service charge collections, your time can, at last, be better spent elsewhere. Be as happy as Larry with block management from Aldermartin, Baines and Cuthbert. Talk to us today. Call 0800 888 6688 or visit abcestates.co.uk.
A nice weekend, a nice walk, a nice relax on the sofa. Is nice what you really want, or is nice not satisfying you? You're always thinking, can I do more? Life as an RAF reserve could satisfy that urge. With life-saving mountain climbing, truck driving, helicopter flying weekends. So when Monday comes and Jackie asks what you've got up to, you can say you've had more than just a nice weekend. There's a role waiting for you right now. Search RAF Reserves. Find your force.
With Vodafone Superfast One Extra Broadband, you get a whole lot more than just super fast speeds. You get an amazing Apple TV 4K on us. Original shows and movies with a free Apple TV Plus subscription for 12 months. And anytime minutes with no in-contract price rises all included. Not bad for just £31 a month for 24 months. Ready? Vodafone.
24-month contract, credit check and acceptance apply. Requires 4K capable TV. Apple TV Plus £4.99 per month after 1 year unless cancelled. See apple.com terms apply. Vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
Swale Heating. Once we've installed your boiler, we don't disappear. Poof, like a puff of smoke. Our UK call centre is here 24/7. So, we can take the time to help you when you need us. SwaleHeating.com. Rely on us to keep you warm.
Hi, it's me. Just thought I'd give you a call. Only kidding. It's another ad for QuickFit. Just to say, if your car's due a service or MOT, you could save money when you book them both together. Find your nearest centre or book online at quickfit.com and drive away happy.
That was at 90-ish.
Terms and conditions apply. See their website for details.
Andrew Castle on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
It's 25 to 8. Assorted types yesterday in the centre of London. There was everything from anti-vaxxers to 5G conspiracy theorists to those who think their civil liberties have been eroded. We've got an authoritarian government. We talked about those anti-lockdown protests yesterday. Some arrests made and police injured as well. So we'll discuss that in just a second. But right now, I told you, I asked you a question. How many people do you think are waiting to find out what their rights are in this country? How many asylum seekers, how many migrants are waiting for a decision from the Home Office as to whether they can stay or not? The backlog is 110,000 people. I mean, did you not find that number amazing? I mean, you might have read that already. So tens of thousands of people have been waiting for a decision on their asylum claim for more than 6 months. The former head of immigration enforcement at the Home Office warned yesterday that the numbers were all going in the wrong direction and that there was a risk of the situation running out of control. Why is that? Steve Valdez-Simmons, Migrant Rights Programme Director at Amnesty UK. Hello, Steve. Good morning to you.
Hello.
Hi. Where's this number come from? This is absolutely enormous. Why has it happened?
Well, the bigger aspects of the rise are people waiting for a decision from the Home Office on their initial asylum claim. And those number of people, or the proportion of people and the number of people in that situation has been rising steadily for many years, and then from 2018 it has doubled. And that's now at 40,000 people.
Right.
But perhaps the bigger aspect of that is troubling is that the proportion of the people who are waiting for decisions on their asylum claims for very long periods of time, that is rising more sharply. So since 2018, the number of people waiting for more than a year, in some cases it may be several years, has tripled from about 6 to nearly 20,000. So it's not entirely clear what's happened at the Home Office. One thing has been that its previous focus on trying to resolve its decision-making within 6 months of an asylum claim, it changed its focus, so it withdrew that, so it no longer prioritises completing within that period of time. And that seems to have been one aspect of why many more people are waiting very much longer for decisions.
And I'm sure the pandemic will not have helped anything, for sure. How many failed applicants are still in the country, Steve?
So the number of people who have been through the system and are the Home Office eyes waiting to be removed is around 40,000. That figure has risen a little over the last couple of years. It was about 35,000 back in 2018. It's now around 40,000.
What should happen to them?
Windows 10.
Well, one of the problems with that figure is that it includes people in a whole range of circumstances. Clearly, some of the people who are there, the Home Office has good reason to think that they should be removed to their countries of origin. it sometimes has difficulties because it doesn't have documentation, and they don't have documentation. Sometimes their countries won't accept them, partly because they've been languishing in asylum systems for so very long, and asylum systems that are not designed for them to arrive in a sort of regular way, fully documented so we know who they are. But they also include, I'm sorry to say, people who pass through the system and have not been properly dealt with.
Right.
And it's regularly the case that a number of these people will, when they are given a proper opportunity, establish their claims to be here.
Well, okay, so, but at the moment there are 40,000 failed applicants, and I take your point, Steve,
yes,
whether or not that's the correct decision or not, but 40,000, despite failing and being subject to removal, are still here. I don't know how they survive. I don't know who pays their bills and who monitors them. Can you help me with that?
Right, let's start there.
That again is a whole mess of a system. Some of them will be reliant on themselves. Some of them will be destitute and homeless, reliant on friends. Some of them, if the Home Office accepts that at the moment they cannot be removed somewhere, will be being accommodated by the Home Office, although they will still not be permitted to work and support themselves.
So that's in these hotels we see, Steve, is that right? Some of them are in these hotels, but is there a first migrant camp opening next week, isn't it, in Kent, in Napier Barracks?
I think you're mixing two groups there, actually. The hotels that you're talking about and the barracks are people actually at the front end of the system.
Right.
And the Home Office are waiting to first register an asylum claim and then decide it.
Right. And then there's another camp opening at Penally in Pembrokeshire for 250 more migrants or asylum seekers, whichever way you want to talk about people who have come here. Local tensions do rise in these situations. Do you understand why?
I do understand, and one of the problems is that oftentimes, no doubt, the Home Office is under a degree of pressure to try and make arrangements quickly if it needs to, but there is often too little engagement with local communities about what's going on, how it's going to be managed, and what their views are, and I completely accept that. At the same time, of course, people need to be safely accommodated and supported.
Steve, thank you very much indeed. I thought that the number which you've really added to was quite an extraordinary one. 110,000 people, Home Office dealing with 110,000 asylum backlog numbers.
And there's the car.
7:41 is the time. 32 people have been arrested after conspiracy theorists clashed with police during a lockdown against coronavirus lockdown measures yesterday. Hundreds of... I didn't say that very well, did I? Sorry about that. You know what I mean. Anti-lockdown protests yesterday. Hundreds of demonstrators attended the rally. It was in Trafalgar Square. Some of them became involved in outbreaks of violence towards officers. This is from the Metropolitan Police. Chris Phillips is a former Detective Chief Inspector at the Met. Hello, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Officers injured yesterday, and how did the operation look to you?
Well, let's put it this way. Start at the beginning here. We've always had demonstrations. We've always had protests across London. There's pretty much every weekend there's a protest of some form going on. What we're seeing now, though, is protesters, to an extent, G'd on by being locked down for this long, but also by the fact that they're seeing week in, week out officers being attacked. And it's getting to the stage where pretty much every protest ends up with officers being confronted, being attacked, and it's just not on, really. And I don't know what the answer is at the moment, but certainly we need to stop this from happening.
Well, law and order is going to be such a major issue, isn't it? This pent-up fury that people seem to have, this desire to be heard, which is entirely understandable. We have a right at the moment, because that's not been taken away from us yet, to actually protest and to demonstrate and to put our views out there publicly. But law and order is going to be a major issue and concern for the next few months, isn't it?
Yeah, and onwards, actually, Andrew, because we do have a situation where policing itself is becoming almost impossible to do. People are seeing what's going on. They're photographing and videoing officers as soon as they stop. They're actually being almost told to to have a go at the officers rather than to see it as part of their duty to accept that they're being stopped, as an example, and be searched. So officers are having a more difficult time with every aspect of their duty, and as a society, we've got to work out what we want from them.
Speeding violation,
because they're not able to do their job.
You've got some more business to do in the police now, some more duties, some more laws to enforce. What do you make of this latest one? People who refuse to self-isolate when required to do so will face fines of up to £10,000, £1,000, I think, for the first transgression of this. Can the police do this?
Well, no. Let me put it this way: the police really do not want any more laws, legislation, or rules on this, because they have clearly got more than enough on their plate at the moment. They can't do what they're asked to do around stop and search, and they're having a more difficult time. And what we're getting is legislation which is actually putting more people in front of police officers that would not normally be in front of police officers. So they'll get more issues, we'll have more disturbances, and the police will be driven further away from the public that they're trying to police and keep safe.
Chris, let me ask you finally, are you lucky enough to have a garden?
Yes, I've got a garden, and it's great having a garden. And can you imagine what it must be like for those people that haven't?
Absolutely not. It's really brutal experience. If you saw somebody in the next door garden to you, perhaps 7 people, not 6, next door, would you immediately call your former colleagues and inform upon them?
Absolutely not. It's not going to do anyone any good, is it? It's not going to do me any good with my neighbours. It's unfair on them anyway, and of course the police really don't want to be dealing with that. So absolutely not is the answer.
When did you become such a rebel, Chris?
Well, I was a police officer for 30 years, and I do believe in law and order. I believe that we've got to do the right thing. But of course, what happens is that this continuous tick over now of taking legislation and using it against the public that really don't want it. And this country requires people to follow the law because they believe it's right. And that's not what we're going to have with this. And I think it's misguided bringing that certainly as a legislation in.
Chris, enjoy your Sunday. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Former Detective Chief Inspector of the Met Police. 7:46 is the time. What's the situation in France at the moment? Infections going up. We're said to be, 2, 3, 4 weeks behind France and Spain. Hospital admissions, I think, are going up as well. Not sure about the fatalities. We'll find out more from Paris in just a second.
Installing Windows.
A legal duty for people with COVID-19 to self-isolate is being introduced in England, enforced by fines of up to £10,000. 4 people have been seriously injured after they were attacked near a pub in Plymouth. And the Trump administration appears to have approved a deal for TikTok to continue operating in the US. Most areas dry and sunny, but cloudy in northern Scotland, a high of 25 Celsius.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. The M4 is closed in both directions between junction 6 at Slough and 5 at Langley. And that's for weekend roadworks, and it is expected to stay closed until the early hours of tomorrow morning. The A13 is also closed for weekend works at Stamford Le Hope, and that's also in both directions. In Chadwell Heath, the high road is closed both ways because of a fire in a building. And on the Underground, the Metropolitan line's not running southbound between Wembley Park and Finchley Road, and that was after a signal failure at Neastham.
This is LBC.
I wash my hands to protect my family.
I wear a face covering to protect my mates.
I make space to protect my colleagues. Hands.
Face.
Space.
I wash my hands to protect strangers.
I wear a face covering to protect other passengers.
I make space to protect you. Hands.
Face.
Space. As we spend more time indoors, we need to do whatever we can to help protect each other from coronavirus. So please, wash hands, cover face, make space.
Full break on Sunday. Coming up at 10. Live from Westminster, LBC.
World Car Free Day takes place on Tuesday the 22nd of September, and LBC has partnered with TfL to encourage Londoners to leave the car at home for the day and walk, cycle or take public transport instead. We spoke to Will Norman, London's walking and cycling Cycling Commissioner about how TfL is encouraging everyone to walk, cycle and take public transport to get around in London.
Walking and cycling is a critical part of supporting our safe and sustainable recovery, improving our well-being and safety of Londoners.
For a chance to win new e-bikes thanks to Halfords. Plus, to find out more about World Car Free Day, go to lbc.co.uk.
I'm worried about buying from this website. There's no company details.
Buying online can be risky, but at Haynes Ford, we have been driving value since Ford arrived in 1911. Online or in-store, our friendly Ford experts can help you buy your next Ford car or commercial vehicle safely at a good price, arrange finance, and even deliver to your door. So for total peace of mind, click with us today at hainesford.co.uk. Always driving value.
With Vodafone Superfast One Extra Broadband, you get a whole lot more than just super fast speeds. You get an amazing Apple TV 4K on us. Original shows and movies with a free Apple TV Plus subscription for 12 months. And anytime minutes with no in-contract price rises all included. Not bad for just £31 a month for 24 months. Ready? Vodafone.
24-month contract, credit check and acceptance apply. Requires 4K capable TV, Apple TV Plus £4.99 per month after 1 year and less cancel. See apple.com, terms apply. Vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
You buy a treadmill, it has a mind of its own.
Speed 10, 15, 40.
Sadly, we can't help you run any faster. But when you pay with a Visa debit or credit card and the seller won't refund you, you could still get your money back, which you can use to buy a new treadmill. One that respects your athletic ability.
Incline 30 degrees. Warm-up complete.
Search Visa. How you pay matters. To find out more. Refunds are not guaranteed. Your statutory rights are not affected. Contact your bank to discuss your options.
Have a painting party, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Turns out, Prosecco and paintbrushes don't mix, and you can't always trust your friends to decorate your house. Thankfully, at trustatrader.com, you can find plenty of vetted, reviewed, reliable professionals in an abundance of trades. Like a painting pro, minus the Secco. After all, friends are for painting the town, not the walls.
School bag? Check. PE kit? Check. Face mask? Check. In order to comply with current WHO guidelines, make sure your children aged 12 and over have always got a covering or mask to take to school. Order before 4 p.m. weekdays from trustedppe.co.uk for same-day dispatch. Rated excellent on Trustpilot.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Andrew Castle.
7:51 is the time. I am painfully aware that I haven't got to your text, and there's loads of them coming in, so sorry about that. I will get to those. Meantime, I know Ed will not wait. He's in Hounslow. He's been waiting long enough. How are you, Ed? Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Yes. I was quite interested when I was listening for quite a long time on the line here. You were talking about various issues.
Yes.
And I think you were talking about people waiting to find out about their rights in this country. Do you hear?
Migrants and asylum seekers, the backlog's unbelievable. The Home Office are telling us that it's 110,000 people waiting to be properly assessed. Failed applicants are still in the country at 40,000 people.
Good heavens. Well, I think there's a lot more of us indigenous people here who need to know our rights. Because they're being eroded on an exponential scale.
I think the more expensive
which is why the vast
has less kilometers.
Protest took place yesterday in Trafalgar Square. I heard you say that a couple of hundred people.
No, it was 1,000, wasn't it?
94% for the windows.
1,000? Were you there?
Get that barrier.
Well, you need to go and get your eyes tested at Specsavers.
I already do Specsavers. They had 2 for 150.
Get it from the police. There were more than 1,000 police there. Just the police were more than 1,000. You know, and there was. I managed. I always do. I managed to engage some of the police constables in interesting conversation, because with some of these protests now, particularly lockdown and so on, the police have all been instructed to wear masks. That's never happened before, but they've all been instructed. Now, I actually got to speak to a police constable who is very much against this, like me, but he can't speak out. And I was saying to him, obviously you're all wearing masks. It wasn't before. Right, in the open. This is not, you know...
Okay, Ed, hold on a second. Hundreds, I've got here written down, hundreds descended on Trafalgar Square on Saturday afternoon, and it was called the Resist and Act for Freedom rally. Is that right?
Who said that?
Well, I'm reading, I happen to have come to the Mail online.
The Mail online, but who said it? I mean, you know...
I don't know. Were you there, Ed? How many? You just tell me how many people you think were there.
I just told you I was there. I just told you there were more than 1,000 police. Ask the police how many were there.
There can't be more than 1,000 police.
You weren't there, I was. There were more than 1,000 police.
That seems like good. That seems like good.
Get any of the footage, you'll see for yourself.
It says here, dozens of officers, including some on horseback and in riot gear, were pushed back by crowds who chanted and cheered, with some throwing missiles. Is that right?
Right, top speed,
information from the police.
104.
Were there only
you're getting stuck in on the... I mean, just tell me.
We're at
I'm telling you, I already told you. There were thousands. If you were there,
Let's see if we could
you'd see it for yourself.
Thousands of police.
Windows Update, 88%, almost there.
I'm guarantee you there were at least 1,000 police.
And what was your primary motivation for being there, Ed? What are you most concerned about?
That we're under a tyrannical government. They're trying to erode our civil liberties. Well, they've succeeded in doing that for most people. And even the police, like I was just trying to explain to you, a particular constable that I was speaking to yesterday, who was agreeing with me that the police are being controlled, that's what they're doing right now. And when I asked him where did he think this was all coming from, and he said it was coming from on high. Yeah, and that they can't speak out, and that they you know, if they don't want to wear a mask, even in a public setting.
Okay, so I've got your views, Ed, on face mask wearing.
No, this is the police constable's view. He was being forced.
Tell me about you, Ed.
So he didn't want to do.
Tell me about
the police constable's view.
Okay, all right, Ed. Tell me about you. Do you not agree with wearing a face mask?
I have listened to people like Judy Mikovits. Do you know Judy Mikovits?
No.
Well, she's a very famous person. She was the boss of Fort Detrick laboratory. She's created biological weapons.
Let's talk about you. Do you think it is?
Well, I listen to the experts. I was just telling you one of the experts. She's created biological weapons herself. She's been involved with SARS. She's been involved with Ebola. She isolated the AIDS virus herself. You know what I mean? She's just published a book, Plague of Corruption, with Robert Kennedy.
Robert Kennedy Jr. People make up their own mind about the sources of information, and people can look up that person. She has been, as I understand it, a controversial figure in some way. But Ed, let me move on just for a second. There were other people there. It says in the reports that I read yesterday that that believe that coronavirus can be. You can get coronavirus from, there's these 5G conspiracy theorists. There were people there who were anti-vaccination. I mean, is that right? Where do you stand on vaccination, for instance, Ed?
Well, I've had the virus myself.
Have you had the test, have you?
I've got I could confirm it in writing the COVID-19 antibody test, antibody thing. And it actually took me, if you're interested to know, to get that antibody test, it took me 6 months. And I didn't even ever had it got now unless I would have challenged my doctors, because I'd heard it on the BBC that I could get it.
Speeding violation.
Ed, cheers, mate. Thank you very much. I'm just going to pop over to France now. I'm going to speak to Peter Allen about the situation over there. All the best to you. Thank you. 7:57 is the time. France confirmed nearly 13,500 new COVID-19 cases. 24-hour period this was that these came in. This was on Saturday they confirmed these numbers. It's another daily record in the number of infections in the country since the coronavirus pandemic began. According to the French Health Authority, 13,500 new cases then reported in 24 hours. 283 more than the day before when the previous record was set. Peter Allen is in Paris. Hello, Peter.
Good morning, Andrew.
Yeah, how worried is France at this moment? How concerned are the people, or are they sort of getting on with life? I'd like to make the comparison between France and the UK.
Yes, there's clearly a sense of concern, very big figures, but what really underpins these massive figures is larger scale testing.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody seems to be being tested at the moment.
So
in
we're
Paris.
right. We did finish this
walk out of your house, walk down the street and get a test. They've set up lots of temporary clinics all over the city. 88%. They're even introducing non-invasive saliva testing now. And this is really what this massive increase is all about.
We're leaving
if
at 3:30.
You look at that 24-hour period, yes, you've got 13,500 new cases, but the actual number of people entering into hospital is relatively small. It's around 75. 26 deaths, that's obviously tragic, that's appalling, but that figure is nothing like the kind of figures we were looking at back in March, April, May, June even.
And from the political perspective, are you in France talking about local lockdowns as we are? We have some 13.5 million people under regional restrictions at the moment. That's a fifth of the population. How are France dealing with this second wave, if that's what we can call it, with only 75 hospital transmissions?
Yes, central government, which is taking all the decisions on this, is very, very averse to lockdowns, to new lockdowns. The early lockdowns were an absolute disaster, economically, socially, and the feeling is there has to be a lot more emphasis now on mask wearing and particularly social distancing. There's been a lot of emphasis on mask wearing in recent weeks, but very little on social distancing, and I think that's really the way forward at the moment, that the government is thinking about trying to get people staying apart from each other, not necessarily staying at home in a lockdown.
And lastly, Peter, is the government fining people who break rules? Are you reporting on your neighbours for having more than six people in their garden if they're lucky enough to have one?
I don't know which side I'm supposed to be.
There's not really a huge amount of examples of people sneaking on each other or reporting each other. Yes, there are fines, mainly for things like, again, there's this huge emphasis on mask wearing at the moment. There are fines being handed out for people not wearing masks, but there isn't really a feeling that people are all, again, sneaking on each other and reporting each other.
Yeah, good. Peter, thank you very much. Peter Allen, LBC's correspondent in Paris, talking about what's going on in that country. Here,
I think I'm on the right
if
side.
the vaccine comes out, only, 2 billion of the world's population would actually be able to get it if it came out next year. And has there ever been a successful vaccine for a coronavirus? The answer to that question is no. So I ask you the question, against that backdrop, how would a national lockdown affect you? And would you approve of a second national lockdown?
Safer.
And we'll take your calls on that in the next hour, and the news will come up next. This is LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, people in England with COVID-19 will soon be required to self-isolate by law. Those who fail to quarantine when they test positive or are identified by contact tracers will face fines of up to £10,000. The measures, due to come into force a week on Monday, follow a spike in infections. Azim Majid, Professor of Public Health at Imperial College London, says he has concerns about the plan.
In this case, if people are fined, might not then get even tested because they're afraid once they get a test, they'll have to isolate and therefore risk affecting other people. So I think we'd be very cautious about applying these fines to people and rather people's good judgment instead.
Ministers are in discussion with the devolved administrations about extending the law across the UK. Sir Keir Starmer is urging ministers to put children at the front of the queue for COVID testing. The Labour leader is also pushing for screening to be handled by local councils rather than a centralised system. A 4-day online event is due to start this morning in place of Labour's annual conference. Police have opened a murder investigation after a man was stabbed to death in Liverpool. A man in his 20s is being questioned following the attack in Tox.
Plus the dog's just barking and barking. Doesn't want to stop barking. He just barks. Crazy.